Right, I just wanted to make a quick video. This is a budget reaction video. I've just watched the budget, and I've been thinking about stuff on there. And somebody at work was telling me, they said that if you had, I think 7 kids, I think you had if you had 7 kids, obviously under 16, with a budget, with them scrapping the 2 child benefit cap, you were looking to be another 16 grand better off. I think probably, if you're not working, if you're on benefits, 16 grand better off. So what I'm saying, somewhere, up north, there's a bloke there, sat there in it with his missus, going, right, things to do tomorrow. Ring up Sky. We'll get the Sky back on. We're in the money. Order a Domino's and make me an appointment with a tattooist because we're in the money. Right, there you go. Other things I've been thinking is the car, the electric car, 3p a mile. I see it's 1.5p a mile if you've got a hybrid. Now there must be loads of people who are thinking to themselves, do you know what I'm going to do? Get rid of my car. There must be loads of people who are thinking like, I'm going to get rid of my car and go back to a petrol. I'm not paying 3p a mile. What I'm saying is, if you're doing 10,000 miles a year, you've got to pay another 300 quid. I know that don't sound a lot, but obviously, if you're doing 20,000 miles, you're paying 600 quid. But it won't stop there, will it? Because in, a year's time or 2 years' time or 3 years' time, you could be paying 700-800 quid. Do you know what I mean? Because it's supposed to go up with inflation. Another thing is that I realised was the mansion tax. Now, there's a lot of people who'll go, oh, it's only the rich paying, blah, blah, blah. But let's face it, in London, there'll be old dears in London who'll be absolutely petrified. They'll be on Rightmove as we speak, going, how much is my house worth? You know what I mean? Oh, I reckon it's worth 1.8 million. Yeah, well, by the time the mansion tax comes in, it could be 2 million. You could be getting taxed on it. And what I was thinking as well is, a lot of older people, maybe in their 60s or the 70s, have done the equity release. A few years ago, it was quite popular, wasn't it? Doing equity release and taking money out of your house. So I'm sure there's going to be like court cases where people are going to court going, oh, you valued my house at 2 million, but I've done equity release. The equity in my house is only 1,500. Do you know what I mean? There'll be loads of court cases, won't there? They won't be seeing any of that cash. Do you know what I mean? Because people will be moving. They've already said, people will break windows, won't they? Put a caravan on the front drive. Invite some gypsies round to live in the garden. How can you prove that something's worth 1.5 million? And the last thing I want to talk about is, I'm a landlord, and obviously they've done an extra 2% on landlord income, on share dividend income, and on savings income. Now, not many people know this, but like landlords, the way landlords are taxed, you're not taxed on your profits, you're taxed on your overall revenue. So let's say somebody's getting £1,000. They've got one buy to let, and they're getting £1,000 a month for their buy to let, right? And say they're working, say they've got a job, and they're earning 40 grand in the job, right? And they're earning 12 grand in the buy to let, yeah. But they're not really, because they might have a mortgage on it. Let's say the mortgage is 600 quid, right, on the buy to let. Then they're only really making profit of 400 quid, aren't they? So 4 grand, four and a half grand a year. So they'd only be really earning 44 and a half grand. So you'd think, oh, they'd be on 20%, or now they'd be that 4.5 grand would be at 22%. But in reality, they tax you on your on the gross income, so you would be taxed at the 12 for the 12 grand. So you'd be taxed for the 12 grand at 22%. So what I'm saying is there must be loads of landlords who have watched the budget, you know, with the renters reform bill as well coming in May. There's got to be loads of landlords. If you've got one property, you're going to go, do you know what? Forget it. I'm not doing it. And you put your house up for sale and you boot your tenants out. I reckon there will be, by the time we get into the summer, there'll be an housing crisis because loads of landlords are going to be quitting. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just saying, you know, the budget, watching the budget, to me, it's absolutely crazy. That's all I'm doing for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Cheers. Bye.